And we are live. Better late than never. Come on now, chat. All right. No, this was exceptionally bad. 6 minutes late. I'm very sorry. But we are here. Thank you all for your patience. I'm alive. I'm well. I'm here. Let's talk all about the 2023 Canadian Grand Prix. Roll intro. I've got no real valid excuse, to be honest. I'm just at times not the most organised man in the world, but there you go. Thank you all for coming. Hello, Jack, Jerome, Daniel, Sava, April, Tim, Chira, Will, Axel, Helita, Professor Z, Zelda, Pablo, Jamie, McPhillin, Maxim, Amy, Christian, David, Jamie, Connor, Drew, Will, Niels, Edward, Max, Amelia, Girlweeb, Ewan, Tuna, Charmander, Sam, Justin, Castay, Up the Irons, Gabon, Bailey, Micah, Connor, Nedo, Advent, Chunji, Lionel, Angus, Formula, Sonny, Adrian, Bino, Cone, Brian, David, Dre, Maha, Evans, Tom. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for your patience. We are here to talk all about Canadian Grand Prix. Thank you to all the audio-only listeners who are here after the fact, and everyone on YouTube listening after the fact as well. I know many of you can't catch these lives. I thought I'd do one at 11 a.m, a little bit earlier than usual. Hopefully, if it doesn't work for your time zone typically, then maybe you're here. But there you go. Right, cool. Shall we talk about it? yeah, exactly. Exactly that, Helita. I'm doing the register. I'm doing the register at the start of class to make sure everyone's here and accounted for. Okay. Oh, I do have my way, don't I? I do have my way with these streams. I'm grateful for your patience. Right, come on then, let's talk about it. Let's get some overlays on screen. First of all, again, audio only. If you want to check this out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, I do upload these live streams afterwards, pretty raw with all the ums and ahs. Okay, chuck it on audio only. Some of you might like to listen to me while you do the washing up. That's when I listen to my podcast. When do you lot listen to podcasts? YouTube live chat. When do you listen to audio only podcasts? Because for me, my main one is when I'm doing the washing up, because that's my chore. Doing the washing up, I like to stick a podcast on my phone as I'm cleaning dishes, and my hands are turning like into raisins. You know what I mean? That's my main thing. I don't see Mirage. I don't really when I'm driving. I don't really when I'm driving. I don't when I'm walking. Um, when I work, yeah. Sometimes when I'm editing. Obviously, sometimes when I'm editing, I need to be able to hear what I'm saying. If I'm just designing graphics, so a lot of the time with my edits, I'll start with the graphics. I'll just make the graphics first. Um, so that way, yeah, I'll listen to stick a podcast on. But then when I'm actually doing the edit, obviously, I need to be able to hear my own voice, the beautiful sound of my own voice on the lawnmower. Connor, I like that. I like that. I rate that. That's decent. Get the poll going. No, I think for me, yeah, when I'm doing the washing up, that is like the prime time for me to listen to podcasts. There's just something about that chore that just, you know, because to be fair, I'm one to allow the washing up to kind of pile up and then I do it all in one. So, which probably isn't the best habit, but there you go. Anyway, audio only podcast. Get listening. Right, time for your rating for the 2023 Canadian Grand Prix. What are we saying out of 10? And again, 5 is bang average. So give me some numbers in the live chat, please. And then we'll go from there. 5 is bang average. Again, 7 is not bang average. 5 is bang average. Okay? We are using the correct distribution of numbers here. Seeing a lot of 6s and 7s. Seeing a lot of 6s and 7s. A few 5s. 6.5, 4, couple of 4s. Oh, look who's joined us. Look who's joined us. What do you think, Minton? What did you think of the 2023 Canadian? Oh, you are very warm. He's been sat outside this morning in the sun. He's a very warm sausage, blimey. You're well toasty, mate. How are you? Are you sleeping? You could hear Dad being really loud upstairs. Good boy, aren't you? Bless him. He is a very hot dog. Exactly. By name and by nature. Good boy. Right, okay. So I'm seeing a lot of 6s. I'm not really seeing anything more than 7. So I'm going to, what should I put? 5, 6, 7, 4, 5, 6, or 7. I'm gonna poll it, see what your rating is for this race. Look, obviously qualifying was very interesting. Bit of a shame Q3 didn't have that kind of crescendo of, because everyone had to set their laps early and then we'll kind of sat around twiddling our thumbs. And obviously the Piastri incident meant that it was a bit more mixed up with obviously Hulkenberg qualifying P2, not starting P2 unfortunately in the end. Yeah, I mean the weekend up until Sunday was pretty good. Again, qualifying was exciting. It was mixed up with Charles and Checo getting knocked out in Q3 as well. That always adds a little bit to the kind of a little bit of the drama going on. The race itself, look again. I agree, Seal. Canada's my favourite track as well. Well, it's definitely in my top three. Canada, Interlagos. Whenever we go to Brazil, I'm always like, oh, I love this place. So it's up there with Brazil. Them two are definitely the top two. But I'm not. I kind of flip flop on and obviously since I've been there as well. I went there last year for the race. Obviously that gives me a little bit more attachment, you know what I mean, to it. But most of you are saying what we're saying. So rating out of 10, only 4% of you are giving it a 4, 20% of you are giving it a 5, 44% of you are 6, and 33% a 7. So for me, it was actually a bit more interesting post race when we found out a few things that were going on, particularly with Max and Fernando. Um, there was some good duels, all that. For me, honestly, oh, that's the wrong overlay. That's the race result overlay. Hang on, 2 secs. Oh yeah, I didn't drag that one. Okay, it's a 5 out of 10 for me. It's a 5 out of 10. It's good. It's okay. It's all right. For me, it was bang average. I'll be honest. Um, I'll give it a 5. I think it was okay. It's not going to live long in the memory, is it? There weren't many. You had a couple of duels. Alonso, Hamilton having a little bit of a battle. Max was not a mile ahead at the front, but far enough ahead. So George made his mistake. Alex was holding up a big train, but kept it clean. Got the job done, which obviously I'm very happy about. But as a race, mm, it was 5. I'm not gonna let my Al bias get in the way of my overall race rating. Okay, it was a 5 for me. For me, it was a 5. Finally a safety car, indeed, indeed. Yeah, Albon's drive ain't getting forgotten. Yeah, I mean, from that perspective, yeah, sure, but it's not gonna live long as much as I mean. Look at that podium, by the way. Not just the fact that you've got Max, you've got Lewis, and you've got Fernando, but you've got Adrian Newey up there as well. 100 wins for Red Bull. That is as podiums go. That is pretty. I saw a little bit of discourse online. Whoa, who's the? I know Aldas did a tweet and ruffled a few feathers, being this is the greatest podium of all time. I know we've had a Schumacher, Senna, Prost podium before, haven't we? But that was at the time when Schumacher was right at the start of his career, hadn't gone on to achieve what he had. Oh, he's still at Benetton at the time. Um, but I mean, that's some serious credentials on that podium, isn't it? Serious. And it's one of them. Look, obviously, I know Max and Lewis fans, Lewis and Fernando fans. Fernando and Max fans are usually all right because them two are pretty chummy, right? But like, there's a lot of rivalry going on at the minute. But at the end of the day, I think we'll look back and we're in a golden generation of talent right now in F1, and hopefully that will continue going forward, of course. But let's not let's not be under the impression that this isn't. We're seeing some serious greatness knocking about in F1 at the minute, and it's as much as Max definitely has the package to give him the advantage. It did feel like in Canada that gap may have somewhat closed. However, a few things came out after the race that make me less confident, I guess, because there's more kind of unknowns. But we'll get it. 2012 Valencia. Yeah, well, that was Schumacher. Was that Schumacher Alonso Hamilton? Because that was a pretty decent one as well. Yeah, But anyway, for me, 5 out of 10. Anyway, right, race result. I've already shown this anyway, but we're showing it again. Max Verstappen takes the win over Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton. Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, 4-5 for Ferrari. Good recovery drive in the end. Oh, yeah, Kimi instead of Hamilton. Yeah, you're right, sorry. Yeah, man, Kimi was just... Kimi's one of them drivers, isn't he? He's like... Prime Kimi was a problem in like the best possible way. But there you go. Right, so yeah, then three top Ferraris recovered well. Checo recovered to P6. Arguably could and should have been more, given the Red Bull that's underneath him. Oh yeah, of course Hamilton got clattered by Maldonado, didn't he? Of course, how did I forget that, man? I've literally been to Valencia as well. I've been to the track. That is not a typo. Alex Albon did finish P7 ahead of Esteban Ocon, Lance Stroll and Valtteri Bottas. Stroll just nipped Bottas at the end by 30 thousandths of a second, or 300ths of a second. Decent. Yeah, recovered in quotation marks. I get it. McLaren's both out the points as well. Norris getting a 5-second penalty for unsportsmanlike behaviour, which is interesting when you don't see very often. Vinton's literally just laid on the floor. Like, hang on, let me take a picture and then I'll just show you. Show you the position Minton's in right now. Okay, there you go. Okay, that's Minton right now on the floor. It's very blown out the screen, but there he is. Oh, look, he looks so majestic. Sorry, audio only listeners, but that's the one thing you miss out by being audio only, is that you don't get to see Minton laying on the floor. He's obviously a warm boy, isn't he? Get that on his Insta. Pierre Gasly P12 recovered 5 places from where he started. Well, he qualified P17, obviously with penalties and that. I think he started P16, didn't he? Because Tsunoda got dropped behind him. Drivers' Championship is interesting. Mainly because... Wait, hang on. For God's sake. I've made a mistake, chat. Albon is P12, yes. That's not the mistake. That's not the mistake. I forgot to update the colours of the... You didn't see it. You saw nothing. You saw nothing, Sava. You saw nothing. Look, it wouldn't be me if I didn't... just a small error, okay? A small, negligible error that shouldn't matter, but matters to me, because I really get really annoyed with myself when I make stupid mistakes like that. But there you go. We move. Good thing. It should only take a few more seconds for me to get all this updated, and then we can look at the driver's standings after 9 of 22 races. Jamie, thank you very much for the $2.99, mate. Very much appreciated. Thoughts on Checo's future if he keeps continuing to underperform? It's been a tale of two halves, isn't it? The first 4 races, obviously Australia wasn't great, but he had his car issues in qualifying. Yeah, we're gonna talk about Bottas, not Bottas, Perez in depth. We will, because it hasn't been fantastic, but at the same time, it's not really too much of a problem for Red Bull right now. It could be a problem at a later date, but right now, I'm not too concerned for Sergio Perez, to be honest. But things will have to change in the not too distant future. Right, anyway, okay, cool. That's updated. Boom. There we go. Right colours, correct. Well done, me. Correct the first time. Driver standings after 9, obviously 8, but Imola still counted as a round. 9 of 22 rounds. Max Verstappen leads by, how many is that? That is 79 points over Sergio Perez. 79 points. Yeah, that's a wrap, isn't it? 8 races, 9 rounds. Fernando Alonso 117. Fernando Alonso is on the same number of points now that Checo was before this race. So if Checo had got a DNF or been out the points entirely, then they'd be on level. They would be level on points. 69, yes. Okay, it's 69, not 79. For God's sake, you lot. That's one way to get chat to say 69 loads of times. Lewis Hamilton, 15 points off the back of Fernando Alonso. And then it's a big drop down. Obviously, no points for... Don't tell him, Caitlin. No points for George Russell. Nil points. So he falls behind Carlos Sainz in the Drivers' Championship by 3 points. Charles Leclerc closes that gap again to George. And Lance Stroll, I mean, geez, man. 117 points for Fernando. 37 for Lance. It's an 80-point gap. Or is it? It is. Not good. Not good. Ocon's actually, he's only 8 behind Stroll now. That could be... Stroll has been... bad luck has played a part in that gap. But it is not wholly responsible for that gap either. Which, I mean, look, you could argue that's the case for a lot of drivers, a lot of instances. But at the end of the day, all that matters is that Alex Albon is P12. That's all that really matters. That's all that we really care about. And yeah, Stroll's pace was okay in the race, to be fair. It's just obviously he had such a bad time in qualifying. Q2 was a bit of a lottery, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Like, okay, yes, Alex was leading Q2. He was fastest in Q2. He put the fastest lap in qualifying. Obviously, if you've got a Williams being the fastest in Q2, something man's happening, right? Which obviously the weather and all that. So I can't put full responsibility on Charles, on Checo, on Lance for going out in Q2 because the team's obviously played a part, but also, it's a shared responsibility. Thank you again, Jamie. Fight for P2 and P5 is going to be spicy. I mean, that's what we've kind of got to focus on, haven't we? Actually, you know what? Now is a good time to share with you a graphic that I posted on Twitter earlier today. But if anyone hasn't, I mean, if you haven't, then what are you playing at? You should watch it after this video. I did a video looking at the 2023 championship after 8 races, including sprint. If Max was a back marker and it was all down to Checo, basically, minting your jokes, and Checo would still be leading the championship after 8 races. This is now the 9th race, Canada. So we would still be leading the championship. Ahead of Fernando by like 13 points, I think it was. However, in this instance, obviously Canada, with no Max, Alonso wins the race because Alonso finished P2. Everyone else gains a position, including Checo. So Checo gets 11 points instead of 9. He got 8 plus fastest lap yesterday. He would get 10 plus fastest lap. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting because it'd look a bit like this. Fernando Alonso would be leading the championship after 9. Ignore that of 22, by the way. Ignore that part. Ignore that part. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to update the graphic and just take that. After 9 races, because I've not included sprints, but I have included that in the 9. So I'm just going to update that now. There we go. Boom. Lovely jubbly. So yeah, after 9 races, including sprints, Fernando would be leading the championship by 1 point. That's obviously including fastest laps as well, and including when Max has got a fastest lap, I've bumped it down to the next fastest lap. Fortunately, there's a table you can find on the F1 site that tells you for each race the fastest lap ranking as well. So it's quite easy to find who would have been the next fastest. But yeah, even though Fernando would only have won 2 races, Checo would have won 5, including the sprint. Fernando would be ahead by 1 point, which again, consistency is key in this game. So yeah. Mad. Checo didn't win in Italy. I'm including the sprint because it was still a race. It was still a race. Lance did not give a Father's Day present. Come on, Lance. Yeah, true, he didn't. To be fair, winning, getting on the podium. But anyway, I just thought that was quite an interesting little alternative. And look, Lewis is only what 19 points off of the lead as well. So Lewis is right up there in the hunt and all. Sainz and Russell are much closer, of course, as is Leclerc. But anyway, right. That's an alternative universe. I'm going to keep track of that as we go through the season, after each race and after each sprint as well. Because it's just interesting. I know it's a hypothetical, right? And I know I've seen some Max fans crying, being like, people never did this when Lewis was dominating. Shut up. Yes, they did. All people did when Lewis dominated was moan, just like we're doing now. No one enjoys the domination apart from the fans of that driver. Come on. Let's be reasonable here. Anyway, right, cool. Driver standings, that's where they are. And constructor standings, Red Bull once again extend their lead at the front, almost double the points of Mercedes. Williams, lots of points, but no jump up in constructor standing position. They are still, well, no, they were P10 before this race, but now they are P9. So AlphaTauri have they have 2 points, don't they? Oh, why am I so stupid? Of course they have 2 points. Of course they have 2 points, you donkey. Okay, there we go. Thank you, chat. This is why live streams are better. Because I can make mistakes, but then and I can correct them on the fly. And then the end product is perfect. Okay? I'm stupid, indeed. 18 in deep trouble. You know, I think in deep trouble, Haas. I mean, at least, like, you know, Tsunoda finished ahead of both Haas and Hassi. Tsunoda finished ahead of both. De Vries was trying to pass Magnussen as well. So, yes, 5 and 6 seem pretty set. True. I mean, McLaren, it sounds like I saw a post-race with Andreas Stella, and he was saying they're pretty much bringing a whole new... their next spec car is coming for Austria. So, exciting times for McLaren fans. We'll see. No guarantees in this game. Cool. Okay, right. Next, we're going to do bangers and clangers, aren't we? Of course, we're going to do bangers and clangers next. Come on now. We'd be foolish not to. We are going to start with, if I can just work out what I'm doing right now, because I'm clearly a washed YouTuber. Clearly. I mean, I have showered, so I'm technically a washed YouTuber. I'm going to start with my bangers and clangers, okay? My my takeaways. Who had a banger, driver-wise? Who had a clanger, driver-wise? Same for teams as well. Bosh, lovely jubbly. I think McLaren are bringing their upgrade to Austria, aren't they? I'm pretty sure they said Austria. Here we go. Unsurprisingly, banger drive, Alex Albon. Yes. Get in there, Alex. It's what I love to see, man. P7. Whew. Worldly strategy by Williams, pulling off that one stop. They knew if they chuck Alex on a hard tyre and give him a one stop, he can do it. Classic Albon defence, mate. Minister of Defence. Clanger drive, George Russell. Self-inflicted wound. Out-qualified by your teammate in qualifying. Not the end of the world, but not what you want either. Self-inflicted wound, ended his own race, would have got big points. For me, it has to be George Russell because he messed up. Banger team, I've gone Williams. I was considering Ferrari. I've seen a few of you mention Ferrari. The thing is, Ferrari, I think, have to be culpable somewhat for their mistakes on Saturday in terms of, yes, Carlos and Charles have to take responsibility to an extent for Carlos for blocking, Leclerc for not getting out of Q2 when other people got out on inters. But at the end of the day, I think the team also, it was a combination. I think the team let themselves down. They shouldn't have been in that position, given the pace of the car. They shouldn't have been. Ferrari race pace was better than Aston and Mercedes. They should have really been 2 and 3 in this race. So for me, the Williams bringing this upgrade to Alex's car, and then Alex being able to make it work and get a P7, has to be Williams for me. Clanger team, Haas. As much as Nico Hulkenberg put it P2, my goodness gracious me, those cars in the race were absolute arse. They were terrible. They were terrible. And yes, Williams had a car breakdown, but you know what? They got points on the board. They got 6 points. That's huge for Williams. Haas started P2, well, P5 with Hulkenberg, fell back to P15. Magnussen nowhere as well, not helped by De Vries being a bit sus. But those Williams upgrades, man, in the hands of Alex Albon, beautiful. It's a sight to behold. Yeah, Haas tyre deck is whoa, wow, mad, crazy. So those are mine. Those are my bangers and clangers. Obviously I do mine before we do yours. I did put the polls out this morning. The poll is linked at the top of the live chat, but I have closed the poll now because I don't want, because I need to close the poll in order to get the results. And the results of your bangers and clangers are as follows. Almost identical. You did give Ferrari bang a team, but otherwise it's all the same. So 88% of you, that's not enough. That's not enough. 88%. Come on, man. Alex Albon, 88%. Well done, Alex. Happy days. 3% Lando Norris. Very good overtakes from Lando through the race, as much as he did get that 5-second penalty for being a bit of a naughty hold-up boy. Some very good moves from Lando in the race. 2% Alonso, 2% Hamilton. Fair enough. Thank you, Randy, for the 499. Much appreciated. Finally able to catch you live again. Does Alex still belong to Red Bull? No, he does not. Alex and Red Bull's tyres, contractually anyway, are fully broken now. He's no longer part of Red Bull. Hence why he doesn't run the Red Bull branding on his helmet anymore. He's just got his big logo, isn't he? Which I rate. Although I still don't like the kerning on it, but there you go. Clanger Drive, 31% of you went George Russell, 29% Nick De Vries. Obviously, we've already talked about what happened with George. Nick De Vries, out-qualified by Yuki again. Yuki did drop behind him because Yuki had a penalty for obstructing, blocking. So not the end of the world. De Vries in the race, quicker than Magnussen. Makes the move. Pushes Magnussen. Was that a little bit elbows out with Magnussen, maybe is slightly over the line. Going into kind of turn 1, turn 2. It was probably just a bit over the edge, but fine, carry on. And then De Vries kind of desperate to make that move up the inside on the dirty side of the track. Again, no junior series, no support races. Well, I think there was that tiny bit of support racing, but not compared to what we see on some weekends. So the track was very dirty offline. Obviously the rain as well the day before. So he was on the wrong side and he just completely locked up straight away and ended. I mean, Magnussen's race was over already, but it was a desperate failed move by Nick De Vries, and it certainly didn't help the perception of Nick De Vries right now, which is that he isn't doing fantastic. But there you go. Who else in clangers? 19% of you went Sergio Perez. Recovered to P6. I think, pace-wise, he was, he got gapped by the Ferraris, which again, in that Red Bull, considering Max talked about this, that the temperatures didn't really cater to the strengths of the Red Bull. It was quite cool, which I think that car struggles a bit more on tyres when it's cool, because I guess getting temperature into the tyres has been something where Red Bull, that's kind of why they relatively struggle in qualifying, again, relative to their very good race pace in the hands of Max. And I think, I think the problem for Checo is that I do believe in race pace that Aston and Mercedes in particular, and on this day Ferrari, in certain conditions, Red Bull don't have this huge advantage. And where the season has started with Red Bull so strong and Checo's had these issues, he hasn't been able to capitalise. This is now the third race in a row where he's not got to Q3. Fourth time all season he's not got to Q3. So, yeah, if I had to put money on it today, I would put money on Fernando finishing ahead of him in the in the championship, to be honest. But But there you go. Lance Stroll, 7% of the vote, Clang and Drive. I mean, obviously, yeah, where you look where Fernando finished and where Lance did, it doesn't look great. He did okay in the race. It was the damage was done in qualifying. But at least Ferrari, who got 60% of the vote for Bang a Team, because again, they played the strategy that doing what last lap we were seeing, seeing a sea of hard tyres and, the Ferraris only tyres, only team on the mediums, only team who hadn't stopped, plus Checo as well. After that kind of safety car with George having his incident. But they made it work. So credit where credit's due to Ferrari. They pulled the right strategy. And fair play. I think somewhat they did. The drivers were communicating. I know they gave a little bit of team radio saying that, people on the hards are struggling to get them fired up. And I think the driver, from what I read after the race, the drivers were saying basically just put us in clear air, and then they could do the business, which is exactly what they did, rather than pitting them and then being in traffic. Give them clear air, let them push, let them cook, and that's kind of what they did. Do a bit of team management there, which is interesting, telling Leclerc that Sainz is not going to attack you, telling Sainz to just chill, which, fair enough. Again, they need to consolidate a recovery performance like this at the end of the day, but there you go. Williams 19% for obvious reasons. Red Bull 8%. Max wins the race pretty comfortably in the end, even though he had a bird stuck in his brake duct, which is pretty mad. Dead bird, obviously. Rip. And 6% Mercedes. All in all, yeah. I mean, especially obviously with Lewis, could have potentially. It was looking. He obviously jumped Lewis at the start. Alonso had to, or at least the team thought, in the end they didn't actually have to drive a bit more conservatively because they thought they had a potential fuel issue, which Mercedes thought was a brake issue, which Aston Martin found quite funny. But yeah, good day all in all for Mercedes, apart from obviously George. Been in it. George. Silly boy. Clanger team Haas, again, absolute terrible race pace. 35% Alpha Tauri. Yeah, obviously Yuki didn't have a great qualifying. Obviously got done for impeding, recovered to only P14. De Vries seemed to have more pace than the Haas, which isn't saying much, and then messed it up. So yeah, not one to remember for Alpha Tauri by any stretch of the imagination. Also, quickly reflect on our predictions that me and you lot did on Thursday. Quite interesting. So my predictions were Alonso race win. Wrong. Banger drive, George Russell. Couldn't be more wrong. Clanger drive, Yuki Tsunoda. I mean, it wasn't great. Banger team, Aston Martin. Alonso got second. Clanger team, Alpine. I mean, it wasn't looking good. It wasn't looking good in practice, was it, for Alpine? It was not looking good. Ocon and Gasly both had car performance-related issues, but in the end, it was all right, especially for Ocon. Ocon did feel, obviously, Ocon shouldn't be finishing behind Albon in a Williams, but obviously the one stop was the way forward. As for your predictions, you went Max, race winner, correct. Banger drive, Ocon. It wasn't a bad drive. It wasn't a great drive. It was just it was an all right drive. Considering his floppy rear wing as well, right? Yeah. Don't know if that was costing him any performance, but there you go. Clanger drive, De Vries, yeah, fair. Banger team, Alpine, not really. Clanger team, Ferrari, definitely not. Well, okay, after qualifying, yes, somewhat maybe. Definitely not after the race though. So there you go. There you go. We can't win them all, chat. We can't win them all. Right, okay. Fantasy League next. Once again, I forgot to change my team. There you go. And I got minus 12 from George Russell. So thank you, George. I couldn't remember. Like when I was, I really hope I left Alex in my team, but I didn't. Yuki and Oscar. Not much points wise. Max. Just keep Max in my team. Keep him captained. And you're in a good place. Fernando, 27 points as well. Aston Martin, Red Bull picking up all right points, which leaves me 300 and something thousandth in the world. Well, 358,415th in the world. There you go. Um, it's not great, is it? It's not terrible, but it's not great either. It's not great either. Right, okay, cool. That's where we are fantasy league-wise. Time to break it down team by team. Scuderia AlphaTauri. Nick De Vries. Another less than ideal performance from Nick. Let me check actually the qualifying head-to-heads, because I like to. Yeah, so head-to-head qualifying, it is 6-2 to Sonoda, 6-2 to Yuki in qualifying, and Sonoda has the 2 points, De Vries has none. Yeah, I mean, this hasn't certainly helped his argument for staying on at the team. Again, it was kind of desperate, that move. My opinion hasn't changed. I think if things don't show a marketed improvement before the break, which we've got a week off. We've got a week off, then we've got Austria, Britain, another week off, then Hungary, Belgium. So then after Belgium is the summer break. And yeah, I mean, could I see him getting swapped? Yes, I could see it happening. Am I like, it's going to happen? No, I'm not like super confident. I could see them giving him a full season. Again, where Lawson is there, waiting in the wings, I think they could give Liam a shot. I think, does it maybe in part depend on what they're thinking about with Awasa? Maybe? Because obviously, if they give Liam that seat for the end of the season, for the second half, that does kind of state an intent of we think Liam's like. But they could have given Liam the seat anyway, instead of De Vries. They didn't. Say for example they gave Lawson the seat for the rest of the year, and then Iwasa goes on to win F2. Then it's like, oh, you just got Iwasa winning it. Like, obviously that's if buts and maybe, right? He might not, but I think probably right now, if I had to put money on it, I'd probably go with Oh, I don't know. I think I've seen to Pusher's a tricky one, isn't it? Because you think like Pusher's got it in his locker. He's got the pace, but at the end of the day, I think probably Vesti. Probably Vesti. I think I'd agree with that. I think Vesti's just. I don't think he's going to win the most races, Vesti, but I just think he's going to be the most consistent. So yeah, we'll see. We will see. But yeah, Yuki's. It wasn't a great race. Not one to remember. He had a really consistent patch at the start of the season. It wasn't the best race for him, but I mean, he finished ahead of Hulkenberg, which is pretty crazy, right? Hulkenberg started P5, Yuki started P19 because of his grid drop. So yeah, it's definitely a better car than Haas in these conditions. But Haas is always quick in Austria, so there you go. Williams, obviously Logan Sargent, the upgradeless Logan Sargent. Apparently he won't get the upgrades till Silverstone at the latest, maybe Austria, but they're looking for Silverstone for Logan to get the upgrade. So yeah, obviously the machine shop was working overtime to get Alex's upgrades ready, and it paid dividends. So fair play, Williams. Yeah, technical issue with the car. Has there been? To be fair, chat, I haven't actually seen it. Has there been confirmation of what Sargent's car issue was? Because on the radio they were just like critical. Stop the car. There's something really wrong. I mean, critical's never a word you want to hear when you're an F1 driver. So they're purposefully being quiet on it. Yeah, I mean, I guess if they're, is it in their best interest? to shout from the rooftops why their car blew up mid-race? Probably not. But Alex delivered the goods. This is hopeful. Obviously, look, everyone's upgrading now. McLaren are bringing big upgrades next race. You know, this is a step forward for Williams, but everyone else is going to also take a step forward. So they need to make sure that they keep this up. And again, with Vowsy at the wheel, this man just, if you haven't listened to his, he did Sky Sports F1 podcast. He's just like, you just listen to him and you're like, yeah, man, I'd trust that guy with Minton. I would trust him with Minton. I really would. But yeah, good day for Williams. Good to see as well. It's about time. Right, Alfa Romeo actually got a point. Well done, Valtteri Bottas. Fair play, Bottas. He qualified, I think with penalties he started P13. Almost got P9, obviously with the Norris penalty, but then Stroll nips him at the end by 0.03 of a second, which again, considering how good that Aston Martin is, I mean, fair enough. Bottas did well. Joe had a bit of a stinker. Obviously, in qualifying, Joe had an issue with his car, didn't he? At the start, which I think, he said afterwards that really curtailed his confidence and ability to build a bit of flow. So he went out in Q1, and yeah, kind of his race pace was okay, but nothing special. Bottas had a better race for sure, and yeah, I mean, a point on the boards. It puts them in a better position in the constructors. If we have a little look at the constructor standings, because remember also, for anyone who's been doing their homework, what's happening? Why are these constructor standings as they stand right now particularly important, chat? Come on. So you come on. Who knows? Who knows? Give me the answer. Why particularly right now, after this round, after the 9th. 22 rounds. Yeah, there we go. Well done, everyone. Well done. Your teacher is impressed. That means we can have some TV time. Can watch some TV. That's what teachers used to do at school, wasn't it? When you do something good, they'll bring the TV out. Yes, the wind tunnel ATR allocation will be resetting at the end of this month. This was the last race of this month, so. So Red Bulls will stay at 63%. Obviously, they've still got their penalty until it's like October, isn't it? Mercedes will be at 75%. Aston Martin will be at 80% instead of 100% that they've had. And they will still have until the end of this month. But then, again, it resets at the end of after the end of this month. So Aston Martin are going to lose that big chunk of extra aero they've had for the first half of this year. Ferrari, Alpine, again, Williams, it's kind of worked out perfectly for Williams, because if Williams had scored just a couple more points, then, and also if they'd have scored 2 more points, if Alex had finished P6 instead of P7, so I think this is right. So if Alex had finished P6 instead of P7, he would have got 9. Williams would be in 9 points. But then I think they would be ahead of Alfa Romeo. I think they would be 7th in the constructors, because P6 would be the highest finishing position of, because Alfa Romeo haven't finished 6th yet, have they? They finished P8. Yeah, Williams would be ahead. So actually, if Alex had finished 1 position higher, Williams would have lost 10% ATR relative. Obviously gained 2 points, but it's kind of worked pretty perfectly for Williams. They've got these points. They're right up there now relative to Alfa and Haas, but they've not taken the ATR hit. So yeah, it's decent. Is 7th Williams' highest position since 2014? Well, no. So they obviously had George in that not race. They had George, didn't they? Finished 2nd. But yeah, in terms of they had Hungary. Was it Latifi? Wasn't it, who finished 7th, wasn't it, or 6th? I can't even remember. But in terms of the last time in a race with no real crazy weather in the race itself, anyway, no real crazy weather, not loads of DNFs and all that. This has been the best kind of Williams performance we've seen for quite a while in terms of normal conditions. But But anyway, well done Williams. Well done Alfa Romeo for getting a point with Bottas. Well done Valtteri. Good race from him. He did well. And it's been a long time coming. Haas, my goodness. Oh, God. I mean, look, Hulk's penalty to drop him from P2 to P5 at the start, it's a shame. But at the end of the day, when it comes to red flag and deltas and that, it just has to be a hard and fast rule. Like, it's annoying. But he was going too fast. And when it comes to, red flags, safety cars and all that, it's like you have to just... It's annoying, but you have to be hard and fast with it because the rules are there for a reason, and it's just, yeah. It's a shame. P15, I know, P15, man. Mate, that Haas is just arse in the race. It's terrible in the race. I hope they have a good Austria because it's always nice seeing Haas do well in Austria. I love Austria. It's becoming one of my more favourite tracks, the Red Bull Ring. It's super short. It's super tight in qualifying. Haas usually bring the vibes, but yeah, just like Ferrari for what we've seen most of this year, good in qualifying relative to pretty shocking race pace, too hard on tyres. Although Ferrari were very good on tyres this race, which was promising, but yeah, not good for Haas, not good for K-Mag. Out qualified to 6-2 now in qualifying, advantage Hulkenberg. So Nico's definitely doing a job on K-Mag right now. I've been a bit disappointed with K-Mag, to be honest. Hulk was unlucky with safety car. Yeah, perhaps he was as well. But, I mean, it wouldn't have been in the points. No shot. No chance, Hulkenberg. I mean, you had Albon all over the back of him. In the Williams, like, he had first shot he bottled it. Second shot he actually overtook him. Yeah, that speaks volumes. Not good for Haas. They need to improve. McLaren, I think, again, like, Lando's penalty for holding up the pack too much because McLaren wanted to double stack and he left a big gap, obviously, to allow Piastri to pit ahead of him. And, yeah, I mean, it's one of them that, I mean, I guess it is what it is. But Lando was very good in the race. He made some really good overtakes. Great move. Piastri made a good overtake on Hulkenberg, to be fair, as well. But Lando made a great move on Oscar when he launched it from half a mile back. And yeah, look, ultimately it was not one that will live long in the memory for McLaren, but especially considering both cars got to Q3, I think that's where your biggest disappointment will be. But again, Austria, Lando seems to run well there, and big new upgrades on the horizon for McLaren. So exciting times. Yes, he did move on Valtteri as well, fill in the blanks. Yes, good shout. No, it was a very good move you made on Valtteri as well into that hairpin. Yeah, they could have just said safety car infringement. I agree, Stephen. They did choose a bit of an unusual term. Yeah, maybe safety car infringement would have been a better way of communicating it, but who knows. Last lap Lando. That Lando qualifying, man. Well, Lando qualifying, not so much qualifying, was it? It's closing that within 5 seconds of Hamilton to get on the podium. Oh, what a vibe that was. What a vibe. And the unsafe releases? No, I think those unsafe releases weren't penalised. Whether it was Lando ahead of Albon and Hamilton ahead of Alonso, wasn't it? They didn't get penalties, did they? I'm sure they didn't. But yeah, no, they didn't. They didn't. So yeah, not great for McLaren, but the pace is okay. So they'll be there. Alpine, again, Gasly was fuming, wasn't he? I mean, look, Pierre's got a temper on him. We know this. We've seen this before. And yeah, he wears his heart on his sleeve. He was not happy with Carlos Sainz. And understandably, that was quite the block on the inside of that chicane. Obviously, it wasn't the first time it happened. I know Carlos got blocked a few times, but 2 wrongs don't make a right. So, yeah, that kind of ruined Pierre's weekend. Ocon will obviously be disappointed to have finished behind Albon, but given the race pace from Ferrari, I think P7 is probably the maximum Ocon could have got, to be honest. I'd have expected Checo to get past him as well. Maybe not, but yeah, and Gasly, did Gasly get unlucky with the safety car? Maybe. Should have been a bigger penalty for Science. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have. If it had been a 5 place, I wouldn't have shrugged. I'd been like, fair enough. Should have started the race from Toronto after qualifying. Yeah, Science was on a bit of a mad one, wasn't he? Even in practice, he like blocked Alex a couple of times as well. So yeah. Who was more fuming out of Will Power and Gasly this weekend? Oh no, Will Power definitely was more fuming. Like, Will Power was on a mad one this weekend, wasn't he? And I mean, like, yeah, he did get properly squeezed twice and crashed into by Scott Dixon as well. So yeah, Will wasn't. Will was ready to unleash the power, wasn't he? But there you go. There you go. Not great from Alpine, but still 4 points on the boards. They'll be fairly happy with that. Missed this? Oh, basically, Scott Dixon didn't see him, closed the door, and they crashed into each other, and Grosjean pushed Will Power off. Oh, yeah, and there's a really good story with Will Power, actually. So outside of this, basically, Will Power was on a mad one. Right? He was fuming with Scott Dixon, fuming with Romain Grosjean, and he called Road America, which I love. I think Road America is a great track. He called it a track. He's entitled to his opinion. However, the track owner, the owner of Road America, the operator, whatever, literally took what. Apparently, they have these. Well, they called them trucks, right? Trucks that they use to get rid of like porta potties, I suppose, or whatever, portable toilets, and basically these big trucks that stink like crap, right? And so what the owner did is he drove it and parked it out front of Will Power's kind of area, like his motorhome or whatever the equivalent is. Just parked it there, left the keys in, just parked it. So left the truck outside the motorhome of the driver, who said it's a track. Now, that's one thing. So then Will Power sees the truck, goes and gets in it. He's got the keys in, so starts it up and drives it and parks it out front of Scott Dixon's motorhome, the one who'd crashed into him earlier. So he left the truck outside Scott Dixon's motorhome. That's quality, isn't it? I loved it. You don't have to. I don't want to see drivers having fights. Look, of course, like there's a little bit of like beef between drivers. It's like fine, you know what I mean? Like I don't mind it. Yeah, it's emotional. It's people having arguments. That it happens, right? I'm not gonna yeah. If someone's like going full on assault, right, there's a line, right? Of course, but stuff like that is funny. You know what I mean? That's funny. But yeah, Will Power was not a happy boy this weekend. There you go. Anyway, right, cool. And Alex Palou won again. Alex Palou is just get that man an F1 seat. Seriously. Ferrari, yes, well done Ferrari. We need to give credit where credit is due. Well done Ferrari. You got it right. You let the drivers racing in clear air on their mediums and make the one-stop strategy work. So, congratulations Ferrari. Well done. It felt like it was a good, again, the strategists, they listened to the drivers, what the drivers wanted. They went for the one stop, they went against the grain, and against the grain was the right decision. Albon proved it, both the Ferraris proved it. Ferrari did the bare minimum, and we're still proud. Yeah, listen, no, it's good. Sainz was faster though. Well, yeah, so it's interesting, David. Yeah, they were telling Sainz to hold position, weren't they? Or they were telling Leclerc that Sainz won't attack you. Which, I mean, to be honest, I think given the recovery, I can understand why the team would just be like, let's just hold fire. Let's just hold stations. But yeah, I don't know. I think they still don't know what was wrong with Charles' car in Spain, which is concerning. And the fact that Sainz was quicker and typically in race pace, Leclerc is able to extract a bit more from the car. I don't know. We'll see. But ultimately, they're two drivers very close in terms of ability. Charles got that slightly higher ceiling in my opinion, but I think I just don't know what to think about Ferrari. Actually, to be honest, I just don't know what to think. Like, it just doesn't feel like they are a serious competitor. Yet you look at the numbers, and they were the second quickest car this weekend in race. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of Ferrari. I really don't. it's the emotional roller coaster that it is to be a Tifosi. So, you know, I feel for you, Tifosi, out there. At least you won Le Mans. At least you won Le Mans. Mercedes upgrades good. Didn't quite have the race pace of Fernando. Obviously, especially given the fact that Fernando got overtaken by Lewis, but then retook the position and then was managing an issue that wasn't actually an issue. So Lewis finished P3. It's the low speed stuff that hits the Mercedes. They've got good medium high speed performance, hence why they did well in Spain. But it's the low speed stuff that hurts them. You know, traction out of those slow speed corners. Red Bull and Aston Martin just have an advantage there. So Mercedes know what they need to work on. More upgrades in Silverstone. Yeah, I mean, again, the trajectory is good for Mercedes. It's good. It's the side pods seem to have somewhat steadied the ship. Yeah, obviously it's not the side pods that have just alone that have made the difference, but it feels like, you know, they were right to revert to the standard. But yeah, so good day for Mercedes, not a good day for George Russell. Of course, once again, like, yeah, he's been unfortunate this year. He's had he had his retirement in Australia, didn't he? The car went bang, and then he had his retirement here, which was self-inflicted. Obviously, it was unfortunate that he was able to recover so far into the race and make up so many points. I don't think he would have got past Albon, and I'm not just saying that because they were both on the hards for the same amount of time. So George had no tyre advantage relative to Alex. And he was behind Alex for a number of laps, and I feel like if Ocon couldn't get past on fresher hards, I don't think George would have got past on the same, you know, the same amount of wear on the hards. So who knows in the end? It could have been like 4 points for him maybe, but at the end of the day, he binned it. He binned it himself. I'll get my pictures from XPB. So I use my imagery. Yeah, you know what? Like, it's getting there. But Aston still seem to just have that advantage right now. Again, with all the ATR they've got at the moment and still will have until the end of this month. You know, hopefully Aston Martin have been able to deliver on that advantage in development that they've had. It seems to be going in the right direction, especially with Fernando Alonso at the wheel. Lance Stroll isn't pulling on his side. It will be interesting to see, you know, hopefully in Austria, you know, in part because I'm going, so I don't want it to rain. Hopefully it will be a dry qualifying and we can see an actual representative. All right, can Lance Stroll get closer? On his day, we know he can be okay in the race, but yeah, it's not been good at all this year. And at least Fernando is doing the job on his side of the garage. So another good drive from Fernando. Yeah, the issue, right? So Fernando was being told to lift and coast, which is probably losing him about 2/10 a lap. Mercedes thought it was a brake-related issue, but actually Mike Crack was saying after the race that no, it was, we basically thought we had an issue with fuel. But when they then brought the car in and checked how much fuel was in the car, there wasn't, like, he could have pushed harder, basically. He could have pushed more than he did. He could have grown that gap, maybe closed that gap. He could have closed that gap a bit to Max. But say it's 2/10 a lap. I don't think that would have been enough to actually challenge Max. But he could have put a bit more pressure on Max. But yeah, there was a fuel sensor which was saying it was reading something that wasn't true, so that he didn't have to actually conserve towards the end. But it's again a bit of shame. Who knows how close Fernando could have been, but wasn't a P, because as much as Max did win the race in his Red Bull, Max had a bird stuck in his brake duct. On it, I've seen a replay on Twitter. You know the corner where you had the whole Vettel Hamilton incident. It's there, so like Max is right up against the wall, driving through. He's just done the right left-hander, and then there's a little bird that just goes. So rip bird. Red Bull takes your wings. I've heard many a little play on words around that one. Red Bull gave itself wings. My one that I was core blimey, as in core, core, blimey, core blimey. It was okay. Wasn't great. I think it broke 1,000 likes on Twitter, so I'll take that. So I mean, look, that could easily have ended his race. You know what I mean? That could easily have ended Max's race. He hit a bird and he hit that sausage curb that Russell hit, and then Russell crashed. But just yeah, Max was on. Again, this track didn't really play to the strengths of the Red Bull. Again, it was kind of, lower temperature, weren't really able to extract the full potential, and maybe Fernando could have closed that gap. Maybe, we'll never know. Yeah, and then laughed about almost binning it. That was funny, wasn't it? It was like, I hit the sausage curb and almost crashed. Ha! Oh, what a world. It's a Max Verstappen world, and we're all just living in it, aren't we? Right, okay. So Max, good, happy, wins the race. Bosh, job done. I think we should talk about Checo a bit now. I do think we should talk about Checo. What did you make of Checo's race? So, was it great? Was it good? Or was it awful? I want to give you the 4 options that I typically give. Obviously, Checo starting at the back, gone out in Q2, recovers to P6, still behind the Ferraris. Wrong strategy, potentially. Yeah, potentially that played a role for sure. It's one of them, isn't it? It's just you would always back Max to get through at least onto the podium, wouldn't you? Given the position that Checo started, you would back Max to get to the podium. He finished 51 seconds behind Max. Yeah, I read that on the same tyre, Checo was lapping about a second slower than Max. So Checo really wasn't at the races this weekend, was he? At all. Yeah, he's had a few shockers now, and it feels like a bit of a rut. And I'm just concerned, like, how does he get out of this rut? He just needs a clean weekend. He needs a clear qualifying. If qualifying gives him, dry condition qualifying, dry race, no issues with the car, which obviously we did get with qualifying in Monaco, but he binned it. But obviously Monaco really does punish you if you mess up. If it's a clean, clear, no rain, no technical issues with the car weekend for Checo in Austria, then I think he's gonna be all right. But it's not great, is it? It's not great. 51 seconds and one less pit stop. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not an issue for Red Bull right now. The constructors is wrapped up. As long they know they've got Max in a car that he's super comfortable in, he's super happy, he's super quick. He's going to win most of these races going forward this year. Or even if he doesn't, like even if Aston and Mercedes somehow close this gap, then he's already eked out this big advantage right now. Again, look at if we look at the constructor standings, 321 points ahead of Mercedes, 167. So Red Bull have banked this advantage now. They can afford for Mercedes and Aston to catch up somewhat, consolidate upgrades for next year's car, and then try and hit the ground running in 2024. Because, you look at the constructor standings, you look at Max's gap to Fernando is 78 points. 78 points. Yeah. 78 points. So, again, that it's fine. It doesn't matter right now. Could it matter next season? Yes. it would matter next season. I mean, again, if you look at the where is it, the Maxless Championship, Alonso would be leading the championship right now if Max was a back marker. Obviously, again, this is not a. There is no way to know for sure, right? But based off, and look, Perez has won 5 races in this alternative universe. So when Checo, and I said it in the video, right? When Checo has a clean qualifying and a clean race, he does have those kind of dominant gaps, those 20-second plus gaps. He's put 20 seconds. Checo has put 20 seconds on Fernando, Hamilton, and the rest, like 4 times, 5 times, I think, maybe 4. I can't remember. It's in the video. Go watch the video. And so he can't. He just needs to stop. Like, he just needs to have the clean qualifying to then deliver, dominant race pace. But again, if Mercedes and Aston Martin have somewhat, which again in this race, considering how close Alonso was to Verstappen, and if he'd been able to push, I don't think, even with a clean weekend, I think it would have been close between Perez and Alonso. I think it would have been very close. Checo can be dominant, but not consistently dominant. Exactly, Bailey. Exactly. I agree. Look, obviously it does, whenever a top driver's been convincingly beaten by their teammate and has had some stinky performances back to back as well, that is going to bring up questions. I think that who's the genuine challenge to his seat? Because look, as much as I rate Tsunoda, I don't see Tsunoda as ready for Red Bull, not yet. I still think they should be patient with Yuki and keep him in the AlphaTauri. I don't think, I'm just seeing names popping up. Who's most likely to put Checo's seat under pressure? So I'm going to pop some names in. So Lawson, Ricciardo, a few of you saying Lando. I mean, they wouldn't do Lando, would they? They wouldn't do 2 number ones. I don't think so anyway. Or other. Because, it's fine. It's like right now it's fine. It's fine. They don't have to worry. Like 2024, if Aston and Mercedes have caught up, which, to be honest, after 2 years they should have caught up. There's no real excuse. Minton, don't go down them stairs. Minton, I'm gonna have to. He's not allowed down the stairs. Minton, treat. I'm lying to my son. Treat. Actually, I do have treat. I'm not lying to my son. I have treats here. You're not allowed down the stairs. It's bad for your back. Sausage dogs get what's it? It's IVDD, I think it's called. Right, stay. Come on. Oh, here we go. Again, I need the treat. There you go. Some ASMR of Minton eating. Good boy. Right, come on, you can go on my shoulder, because otherwise you're going to go down the stairs. There you go, good lad. Stream 10 out of 10 content. Alright, it was already 10 out of 10, wasn't it? Come on. Who's most likely to put Checo's seat under pressure? So 13% of you saying Lawson, 35% Ricciardo, 32% Lando, 20% other. Interesting. Yeah, I think. Look, it's not going to change mid-season. Obviously, that's not going to happen. Thank you, Cameron, by the way, for the Aussie dollar. Appreciate it. It's not going to change mid-season. Obviously, that's not going to happen. But yeah, then come 2024, I don't think that Ricciardo would do any worse a job than Checo is right now. But also, I don't think he'd do a much better job. I guess the saving grace for Ricardo in this potentially is that, Red Bull know how to set up a car that works for Daniel. Daniel was the only teammate who's ever really pushed Max. Now, obviously, this was in a much earlier stage of Max's career where he was more raw, but I don't think he was slower than he is now. Not really. I think he was less complete in other factors, but I don't think he was any slower. Um, so yeah, and the thing is, obviously, with Ricardo, he has such marketability. Having Ricardo and Max back at a Red Bull, like in terms of the brand efficacy, which the whole point of Red Bull being in F1 is marketing. I could see it. I could see it. I mean, I know I put that in my 24 driver predictions, and I could see it. I don't even think it's so much a performance thing. Checo is he's a race winner outside of Red Bull, inside of Red Bull. He's proven he's got it. He's got that dog in him on his day. Look at Minton. Look at how cute he's being. Sorry, audio only listeners, but just look at him. Especially contrasting against my white t-shirt. He just looks like a little. Like imagine if this all you can see right now that is Minton. He just has these two little legs that he just walks around vertically on. Can you imagine that? That'd be cute. But yeah, So I could definitely see it happening. I could definitely see it happening. I think there's a strong case from the bosses higher up at Red Bull. Daniel's so popular, you know. So, but then obviously Checo's got huge following, particularly in South America. But huge following, huge support in the States as well. Yeah, Daniel gets a lot of support in the States as well. He's super popular in the US. So it's tricky. And then obviously Lando, like Lando would be fascinating, right? Of course, but again, you've got two number ones then. So I don't know. I think yeah, Checo's fine for now. He's having this rough patch. I think he'll get back out of it. I think Alonso probably will beat him. We could end up seeing a very 2013-esque season developing here, where obviously you've got Vettel in the Red Bull dominating. Alonso finished ahead of Webber, and I think I could see the same here. I could see Alonso finishing just ahead of Checo. Checo finishing third. I think that's where I'd kind of draw a line under it. But also, yes, someone mentioned this as well. I think one other question I want to ask before we wrap, and I was kind of considering when we were talking about on the stream, considering doing a video, maybe for like later in the week, because I've already got a video ready for tomorrow actually. So keep an eye on your subscription boxes for a Tommo upload on a Tuesday. Look at that, Tuesday. One other question I suppose I've got is, do you think Red Bull regrets letting Alex go? Because I think Alex has done very well in the Williams. And no, yes or no, and then maybe. I'll give you a maybe option as well. Because the thing is, obviously, Perez was the right driver to replace Alex at the end of 2020. I could admit that, of course, right? With Checo on the market, Red Bull would have been silly to not, because Alex didn't do enough. He didn't do enough to prove that, he was, as much as the Red Bull wasn't, it was still behind the Mercedes in 2020, whereas in 21 it was on par with the Mercedes. I think that's true. I do think that Perez's experience really helped Max win that championship. I'm not so convinced. Obviously, who knows, right? Because look, Alex has proven himself. He's a very good defensive driver. Would Alex have been able to do the defensive job that Checo did in 21? I don't I don't think so. But again, given his more recent, why are you trying to lick the microphone? Given his more recent defensive displays, maybe, but I wouldn't bet on it. You know what I mean? I think Checo was the right move. However, obviously losing Alex entirely now from their program and seeing how well he's doing in the Williams, again, it is hard to measure, of course, when you've got, you know, a Latifi teammate last year and a Sargent teammate this year. So it is hard to measure Alex's true pace, but you know that Williams does look like one of the more underdeveloped cars. Yet the results have been very good. And I guess I wonder whether they not even, you know, not I don't think they regret dropping him from the top team at all. But I think losing him entirely, they could have maybe dropped him to the, you know, back to AlphaTauri, like they did with Pierre, because that's the difference, right? With Pierre, they only just lost Pierre to Alpine. Pierre had his stinker, and was just put back in the junior team. You know, when Kvyat was replaced by Max, he was put back in the junior team. Alex went from Red Bull to gone, zilch, in reserve. You know, so I think it's an interesting one. I think we'll see how. I like to think Alex has still got room to improve and grow, and hopefully, I mean, look, I'd love to see him do that at Williams because I'd love to see that marquee back at the top in F1. But the more Alex continues to kind of do well, the more he puts himself in the shop window as well, right? So, yeah, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. We'll see. But yeah, I might do a video about that this week, maybe. I feel like it's just something I'd like to talk about. Be interesting. As an Albon fan, of course. Right, cool. I think we're done, everyone. Thank you all for joining. But hour 17 minutes, about right, about the norm. Don't forget to like the stream, please, if you're watching on YouTube, whether you're watching live or after the fact. And don't forget to rate and 5-star and interact however you do on audio-only platforms. Even if it's just for Minton, the yawning sausage dog on my shoulder. Yeah, why are you so tired all the time, man? I don't get it. New video tomorrow. New video tomorrow. It is a livery. It is a what if blank joined F1. And it's quite a different one as well. So hopefully you enjoy that one. And like, subscribe, all that stuff. I will see you when I see you. Say bye to your loyal fans, Minton. Minton, look at the camera. Look at the camera. He's looking at the hand, not the camera. Right, cheers everyone. Appreciate all your support. Honestly, thank you so much. Pleasure as always, and I'll speak to you soon. New video tomorrow. New video tomorrow. Watch it. And watch all my other videos now. Bye.